Governor Martinez, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
As we look ahead to the legislative session starting next week, what's one piece of legislation that you would like to see passed besides the budget?
Well, certainly the balanced budget we've got to get through, but it's hard to say what one piece because there are several very important pieces, and that is to make sure to level the playing field for our New Mexico job creators, but also to improve the educational environment for our students and making sure that kids are reading from kindergarten to third grade and reading at grade level so that we don't hold them back and that they can continue from the fourth grade on reading in order to learn.
Is social promotion a piece of legislation that you're going to be following closely again?
Absolutely. What we're wanting to do is focus in on the $13.5 million that I have asked the legislature to allocate in our budget, and that is to make sure children from kindergarten through the third grade, as they go from grade to grade, are reading at grade level. So we're focusing on reading so that we don't have to retain. And if we focus those dollars on reading, then we have a child that's ready from the third grade to go on into the fourth grade, and they can now read science and geography and history at the level because they now know how to read. If you don't read at the third grade level by the time you leave the third grade, you are 4 times more likely to drop out of school. And those are numbers that are horrific. So that's why our focus is in making sure kids are reading grade level from K to 3. So we want those monies to be very focused for those children.
Anything different about that legislation this year? It's come up in the past as well.
What we did is we asked for $12 million last year, and the legislature gave us $8.5 million. We hired 46 reading coaches, deployed them throughout the state of New Mexico to make sure that they were available to instruct teachers, because teachers are wanting that instruction, how to teach children to read. And so they were deployed throughout the state, and with that success, we now have an increased number of teachers and principals asking for those coaches and asking for the assistance. And so $13.5 million will meet that need. And so it's real exciting to see the progress and the need being requested. So we're going to follow it very closely so that we don't have to hold children back in the third grade.
Another piece of legislation that you've been a strong supporter of since you took office was repealing the driver's license policy that allows people who are in the country illegally to get a license. Anything different in this legislative session about that legislation?
You know, there isn't, and this is why. Because we did compromise during the last session and the session before that. We compromised because a driver's license in New Mexico was only issued if you had a Social Security number. And so what we said is, wait, if you're in this country legally, you have a student visa, you have a travel visa, anything that you may have that allows you to be in this country legally to work or to go to school or to be in the military. For example, in Alamogordo, the German Air Force, if you're here lawfully, you can get a driver's license. Your driver's license will expire at the time that your visa expires. When you renew your visa, you renew your driver's license. But New Mexicans do not want us issuing driver's licenses to illegal immigrants, to people who are here completely illegally. 72% of New Mexicans have said that law needs to be repealed. And so, being that I am elected by New Mexicans, I am going to continue to fight for what New Mexicans have asked me to do, and that is to repeal that law. I am hoping the legislature will start learning to those who have elected them as well.
Do you expect anything different this session?
I do. I hope so, because all of them just finished coming off the ballot. They just all were knocking on doors and visiting with the community, and I'm hoping that they heard the community loud and clear that this is important to them. There was just recently some folks from Brazil that were coming to New Mexico, and again another criminal ring that was brought to New Mexico to purchase, to pay to buy false documents. So they come here with a very intent of committing crimes, to buy documents that are fraudulent, to say that they live in New Mexico when they don't. They get bank records and utility bills that claim that they live here, and then they walk into the MVD office and say, I live in New Mexico, I'm an illegal immigrant, and I want a driver's license. They receive a driver's license and they leave the state. And then they're able to switch that driver's license for a driver's license from another state that never intended to do that. Now, 14 other states figured this out. 14 other states used to give driver's licenses to illegal immigrants and saw that criminal element coming into their state. They then repealed a law that gave those driver's licenses to illegal immigrants.
Some states are going the other direction now. California is using the deferred action to bring back licenses for some people.
Right.
What do you think of that?
But they're doing it for the deferred action, and so Because of that executive order, those individuals, the president has said, now are here legally. And so that is something that we are looking at to see what, I mean, the president has only done it for a 2-year period and for a very limited period. And so are those driver's licenses being issued in California for that limited period only? Is the president saying here they're legally, or that they're only deferring action? They can be deported because they're here illegally. We're just not going to do it right now. So is it really and truly legal status? And so that's a very unique situation what California is doing, and so we're researching that to figure out if that truly is legal status or not.
And when it comes to working with the legislature this year with maybe some people who are on the other side of this issue, where do you see your relationship right now with some of the folks that your political action committee opposed and worked against in their most recent campaign season?
Well, you know, I think there are political action committees on both sides. We have certainly, I think for the first time, been able to bring the record of legislators who have voted a particular way. And I think it's important that the folks who elect them know how they vote. Did they vote for or against the repeal of that law? It's very important to New Mexicans. Everywhere I go, I'm in the grocery store, if I'm down at, at a business meeting, they're always telling me, are you going to continue to fight for that? Don't give up on that. And so I think the Political Action Committee on both sides were advocating for their positions, nothing personal, but simply laying out your record and saying, this is how you have voted. People, if you like the way this person voted, fine, vote for them again. But if you don't, this is their record, and if you think someone else would better represent you, then that's what you should do. And it is the political process, but it comes from both sides. I think both sides are funded from outside of the state of New Mexico as well as from within the state.
Do you have plans to sit down with some of the people who are opposed to some of your policies, say Senate Majority Leader Michael Sanchez?
Sure, and I've sat with him several times throughout the past 2 years. I've sat with him several times, and there are things that he tells me that I think, I appreciate the fact that he'll say, honestly, I'm not ever going to vote for X, Y, or Z, and I believe that that's what he's going to do. But I still believe that he should bring the bills forward to the Senate so that it can be voted upon, and not hold those bills back so that no one is on record and voting a particular way, so that those who elected these individuals will understand whether or not they're doing the work of the people versus getting the pressures from special interest groups. I think it's important every bill as they come in should be read on the floor and voted upon after they've gone through committees and passed through those committees.
When's the last time you sat down with Senator Sanchez?
I sat down with him during the last session. We sat down actually several times, and we have visited. We didn't visit after the session. Everybody seems to go home and do their own thing. But I have plans to visit with him again, as I do with most of the legislators. We schedule sometimes meetings 2 or 3 at a time, sometimes individually, sometimes just the leadership. It just depends on the issue that's coming up. But oh yeah, we meet a ton with the legislature.
Economic issues are going to remain very important in this legislative session. You've been in office 2 years, and New Mexico continues to struggle economically, especially compared to our regional neighbors. Why do you think we're not gaining ground?
Well, we're very reliant upon federal funding, and with that fiscal cliff that we were facing, it was extremely concerning to us because we depend so heavily with our federal military bases and of course our federal labs, and we need to make sure that we continue to fight for that funding, but we have to diversify our economy in New Mexico and not rely so much on that federal funding, but we also have to make sure that we provide incentives that make us competitive. We can't be competitive with Texas and Arizona when we have a 7.6 corporate income tax level, and for example in Arizona they just lowered theirs to 4.9. We cannot expect jobs that are leaving California to not choose Arizona because their tax code is much more inviting to them to stay there than to come over to New Mexico or to go to Texas, which gained a lot of jobs during the recession. And so it's something that we've got to continue to compete for. A level playing field for small jobs, the restaurant that has 8 employees and wants to stay open and maybe hire 2 more employees, or the business that has 50 employees but wants to add an additional 10, or go all the way to the ones that have several hundred. We want to have a level playing field for all of these small businesses so they can grow, number 1, stay open, 2, stay here, and 3, invite other companies to come to New Mexico.
Other than tax incentives, what do you think would institute a real change in the economy of New Mexico?
Well, certainly the tax incentive is a big one, but also having economic development funding that allows us to close the deal. Sometimes, for example, having infrastructure. You may have communities that don't have the infrastructure, whether it be roads, whether it be wastewater treatment facilities or water facilities, that allows for companies to say, this is a good place for us to come and develop. So it doesn't have to always be in the same location, but throughout the state. We did this in the southern part of the state of New Mexico and invested $2 million to make sure that we had a water system and a wastewater treatment system that allowed for, when Union Pacific comes from Texas, already building and developing there in Santa Teresa, New Mexico, $400 million are being invested there. It is going to be an enormous hub for the transportation of goods from Mexico and through New Mexico all the way through the rest of the country. And so JTIP, for example, job training, investment training, and these are dollars that the state pays 50% of your salary to train a new employee, and you pay 50% of it. And that allows your company to grow, and we're investing in that growth. And we started out with $1.2 million when I first started as governor. We raised it to $7.9 million, and we're asking for an additional $4.75 million because we see it so successful for businesses to bring their companies here, and we invest as a partnership in training those employees.
What about investing in the workforce? New Mexico consistently ranks at the bottom nationwide on education, and people who might want to bring their families here, that might concern a company that was looking at New Mexico. So what needs to happen to change New Mexico's economy in that sense?
Absolutely, we have to change the way we do our education. You know, I'm not satisfied with being 49th in the nation in education, and I don't think there's a single parent out there that is. But we keep doing things the same way, thinking that we're going to get a different result. And what we have to have is true reform. And we've been recognized by the Obama administration as going towards that true reform. And that includes, number one, making sure our kids read from K through 3 at the grade level before they move on to the 4th grade. They saw that as an enormous reform in focusing in our kids. Making sure we have advanced placement courses more available to kids that want to take classes that count as college credits when they take that test. And we will pay for the test for you to take so that you don't have to take that course again in college. We spend $27 million in remedial courses for kids who graduate from high school in New Mexico and enter college because they're not ready. And so they're taking high school courses in college because they couldn't successfully, they passed in high school, but they're not prepared for college type courses. And so we've got to make sure that we're attacking the problem at every level so that we can see true reform passing. And we're also going to invest in courses to make sure that kids can take the SAT, the pre-SAT and the pre-ACT test. And they can take these tests in the 10th grade. The state will pay for it so that when you take it in the 11th grade, you know where you need to brush up on so that you can be prepared to go on and take it, pass it, and go on to college.
Governor Martinez, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.